And that's the way we got away with it. Anyway, she came up later with our clothes. We put our clothes on. And we walked out, and here's these SS officers going down to breakfast and whatnot. And she kept talking to us, and we'd nod our head and look at her. And we went down out the back door. She stood between the two guards at the back door, and we'd walk across the back lawn. We turned around, waved to her. She waved to us, and we went out the back gate and down the road. So anyway, later that morning, along came a guy and picked us up, and he was the chief of police of the village. He took us to his place. He turned on the radio that night, and the BBC in London, and it said after 25-kilometer advance, the British are in Amiens. And that was only about 20 kilometers from where we were. So he said, they'll be here tomorrow morning. So he went out with a shovel, dug in his garden, and dug up champagne bottles that he said he'd buried in 1940. And he brought them in, opened them, and he said, they'll be here tomorrow. And we toasted each other in champagne that night. And the next morning, there was all kinds of commotion around. And the Germans were really getting out of there in a hell of a hurry. And then the first thing we saw was the first British tanks coming over, and we knew they were British because they were just covered with roses. And they came through and we were liberated. We went back because the biggest house in the place was the chateau. The French resistance forces gathered at the chateau. And I'm looking, and I see this guy that looks familiar to me. And he looks at me and sees me looking at him, and he starts to laugh, and he says in English, I guess you wonder who and hell I am. And as soon as he said it, I heard his voice, and I said, you're the priest. He laughed. He says, yeah, that's right, I'm the priest.